So today let's look at one of the question asked by one of our HypeHype user. He wants to make a spawner that spawns coins every 3 seconds. This should be a straightforward answer. Let's break down this question. So, so we want to spawn a coin every 3 seconds. For that we will need a coin. We will need a spawner that spawns the coin, and we will need a clock that spawns every 3 seconds. Now, using this question, let's make a coin shower that spawns coins on in the sky every 3 seconds, and the coins fall down. First, let's take the coin, go to asset, search for coin. Let's use this coin. Whenever you're going to spawn an object, make sure it's a reusable. So we click on the coin, click on make it reusable. We're gonna call it as coin. Now it has reusable has been created. We click on this coin, click on edit, and see we have the reusable, and we're going to delete this duplicate one. Now we need a spawner node, containerize it, so it's better to organize. Inside the spawner, turn off local transform, turn off spawn point, turn on absolute transform. Now let's use the interval node. Interval node is like a clock where we set the duration, and it's gonna play, and after duration is gonna tell us it has reached that duration. Now we're gonna change it to 3 as we want it to do something at 3 seconds, and we're gonna loop it. Looping is basically gonna make this interval node play throughout the game, and it will never stop. In case we didn't turn this on, it will only play for 3 seconds and it will stop. So we're gonna turn this loop. Now on time we want to spawn, but before that we want to what we want to do is check if we can spawn the coin using this interval node. So we're gonna drag and drop from on time to spawn spawn execute. So which is basically spawner execute. Take this, click on spawner, click on set, click on the coin, and you'll always get all the reusables here. So we created a reusable pearl coin. I'm gonna set that. Now let's see what's gonna happen. You see the coin is spawned here. Now you might ask, why is the coin spawning there? Now when we click on the spawner, and if you scroll down, you see something called as offset. It is at 0, 0 and 0. It is basically the same as the cube. Now this 0, 0, 0 is basically the position in the 3D world that you're using inside HypeHype. And if you click on this cube, and if you see its position, it's 0, 0, 0. Now what we want to do is we want the coin to spawn in the sky and not exactly in the center. Now we're gonna do a bit of math. Now before that I do that, let me just draw and try and explain what we're gonna do. Our cube is at 0, 0, 0. Now when we draw a line, this is our y-axis and this is our x-axis. Now we want to spawn the coin around the cube randomly so that it spawns and the player can collect the coins. That is the purpose of the coin shower. So what we are going to do is we're going to randomize the position around the cube, which is basically the center of the world. For that, we need a random node. We need a vector node. And in the random node, we can start, let's say, -10. And we can set this to 10. The minimum is -10, the maximum is 10. And from the output per link, let's drag and drop it to vector x. Can again drag and drop it to vectors z. Now from the vector, we can drag and drop it to the offset. And now let's see what's going to happen. If you see, the coin is spawned here. But if you see again, the coin is spawning on the ground. That's because our y-axis, which is basically towards the sky, is set to 0. Now let's increase this to, like, let's say 10. And if you see, the coin is here. Now we want the coin to fall down. So we're going to click on the coin and change the physics to dynamic. Which is basically the gravity is going to affect the coin and the coin will fall down. Now what we need to do is, right now we have only one coin falling down. We want multiple coins to fall down. We're going to use something called as loop. We're going to add it inside the container and we're going to move this interval node away. We're going to delete on time. Now from on time, we're going to drag and drop it to for loop. Now for loop, we're going to drag and drop on loop to spawner execution or execute. Now let me just break down what's going to happen. Our clock or our interval will basically check every 3 seconds, and it's gonna tell for loop you need to do, like, you need to execute or you need to perform something. And for loop, if you click on the node, there's something called as last index, which is and right now the number is set to 3. What this does is, from interval to the loop, and the loop with the mentioned number here, it is going to perform the number of executions mentioned here. So if it's set to 3, this is going to execute this spawner 3 times. So our interval is going to say, for loop, you go and execute the spawner 3 times. For it to execute 3 times, make sure for the first index is set to 1. So it's 1, 2, 3, which is basically 3 times. Now we want to, let's say, make it 10 times. Now we change it to 10. So from interval to for loop, and interval is saying to for loop, please make sure to execute your spawner 10 times. Now when we play the game and wait for 3 seconds, you can see the coins are being spawned. Now let's say you want to randomize how many times the things are spawning. We can again use a random node and we can set it to Z, like a minimum of, let's say, 10 and a maximum of 20. And from output, we can drag it to last index. Now when we play, you should have a good number of coin showers. Now, right now, we can make this more interesting by making the coin spin a bit. So for that, we can go to our node and look for rotator. Right now, it's inside this container. We'll click on remove and we're gonna drag and drop it to the coin. And we're gonna turn off shortest path, turn on execute, turn on loop, and we're gonna, let's say, add a number called 5 to the x. Now when the coins are spawned, the coins must be spawning. If you see this coins are not spawning in the right direction, so we'll change the value to, let's say, y and give it the number 5. Now the coins are still trying to rotate even though it just touched the ground. To make the coin stop spinning after it touches the ground, we can go to the nodes again and look for collision detector. And inside the collision detector, there's a lot of options, and one of the option is trigger with group. Now the collision group is gonna look for the group gray, which is basically the one that we have selected. And by default, in the Hyper 3D world, ground is always set to gray. To double check it, you can come back, go to build, go to ground, and if you see, ground has the material group gray. Now we can change, if you want, you can change it. Now let's say we can keep it to yellow, and we come back to collision detector, click on this gray to uncheck it, and click on yellow, and on collision start, we're gonna go to enable and off. So it's gonna turn this off. Now if you see, the coins are falling down, and then after they touch the ground, they're not spinning it. Now let's say the coins are in the are like always in the same direction, like all the coins look the same, they're spinning in the same way. We can always add a lot of randomness to it. So we're gonna add a random, and we know y is 5, so we can say a minimum of 3 and a minimum of 10, and drag and drop it to y. Now all the coins must be rotating at a different speed, which looks much better. Now we can't keep having all the coins here forever. In case you want to destroy the coin after a few seconds, we're gonna use a destroy node in the coin. We'll use an interval. We're gonna say we already know this collision detector is checking for the ground. So on collision start, we're gonna play the interval node. Inside the interval node, by default on start is turned on, make sure to turn it off. Otherwise, you're gonna have the coins get destroyed as soon as it's in air. And let's say after 1 second it touches the ground, we're gonna destroy it. Now on time, we're gonna execute. If you see, every coin is uh, getting destroyed, and that might still doesn't look good. So we can always add more randomness. So we're gonna use another random, and let's say we can add the minimum to 1 second, and some coins might die after 5 seconds, and output it to interval duration. If 5 seconds or 1 second is too much, we can always change it to minimum to 5 and let's say maximum to 10. You see, they're slowly disappearing. Now to make it even more interesting, we can always add a particle effect to it. So we go to build, effect, click on the effect, clear the search. We have a lot of pre-made assets. We can use star explosion. Click on the star explosion and click into the screen. Now drag and drop it inside this container. Make sure to turn off executing, and we can say on destroyed execute. If on object destroyed, we can execute it on. Now let's think if we can make this even more better. What can we make this better? I guess it's good enough for our HypeHype user to start working on this concept. In case you have any other ideas to make this much better, you can always comment down in this video, and I'll try to make this. I will also save this project and link it in the description, so you can always click on it and go to Remix and turn on the logic to view the nodes setup. Or also, if you want, you can copy the node setup and try and use it in your game. Please let me know if you like the video, and if there's any other way I can improve my video. And if there's any other questions, drop down in the comments, or you can go to HypeHype Discord server and ask your question in the Get Help channel. Bye bye.